Today's Tips du Jour mailbag question comes from a viewer in Florida. Robert, I watched your Tips du Jour video on nut and saddle making. I am making a new nut for my guitar. However, I'm having trouble getting the action correct after making the new nut. What do you suggest? Terry in Florida. Well, Terry, when making a new nut, it's very important that the action matches exactly or as closely as possible the action you had in the old nut. That way the player doesn't notice any difference between the old nut and the new nut. When I make a new nut for a client's guitar, the first thing I do is notate the action that the old nut had. That way when I slot the new nut, I can know exactly what it needs to be slotted to so I have the correct action at the nut. So let me show you how I do that. So Terry, like I said, I'm going to make a note of what the action is on the existing strings. Now on this particular guitar there are 10 strings. It's a harp guitar, so I have 10 strings coming across that nut. So it's very important that I know exactly what the height is off the fret so that the new nut and the new strings have exactly the same height. What I'm going to use is a dial caliper known as a string height gauge. I got this tool from LMI. So I can place the tool over the string and then hit the plunger, and it tells me exactly the height of the string off the fret. I'm going to do that for each of the 10 strings on this guitar and make a note of that. Then I'm going to make the new nut, install it, and I'll show you how to dial the action in for the new nut. So once I have the new nut made and pre-slotted, I'm now going to come in and dial in the action at the nut. I do that by placing the tool over the string and turn the dial to 0 and then hit the plunger. The string is coming in at 19 thousandths and I need to get it down to 15 thousandths. So we're very close. With my calipers, I check to see the exact diameter of the string, and then I choose my appropriate nut file for that string. I then use the file to very lightly take a little bit out of the nut slot. So now I've placed my string height gauge again over the string, zero it out, and when I check it, I'm coming in right at about 16 thousandths. So that's pretty close. It needs to be 15, but 16 thousandths is close enough. The important thing is that it's not buzzing, it's not laying on the fret. And it's not. So now I need to walk across the other 9 strings and dial all of those in. So Terry from Florida, thank you for your question. With the information I provided you in this video, and the string height gauge from LMI, you should be able to dial in the action at the nut very precisely. The player should notice no difference in action between the old nut and the new nut.